Hello, everybody. It's February 12th, 2026, and this is the weekly Backdrop Dev meeting. We get together almost every week to talk about Backdrop development priorities, usually specifically around Backdrop Core. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm core committer and technical lead for the Backdrop project, and I'm calling in from Oakland, California. I've got a half dozen folks here with me today, and we'll do some quick introductions to go around and talk about who everybody is. We'll start with Laren, and then we'll go to Herb.
My name is Laren. I work with Atom Design Group. I'm a core committer, and I'm calling in from the greater Charlottesville area.
Thanks, Laren. Herb, and then Justin.
Hi, I'm Herb Vandendoel from Ontario, Canada, one of the core committers, and yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Herb. Justin, and then John.
John Fireball, Greensboro, North Carolina, and I'm not a dev, I'm a site builder, trolling all you devs.
Thanks, John. Justin, and then Martin.
Justin Kaiser calling in from Muncie, Indiana.
Thanks, Justin.
I'm Martin Price from Northeast England, Yorkshire, putting around the internet and hoping to find out about image style generation today.
Great. All right. Yeah. We haven't gotten together for the last 2 weeks. We didn't have a meeting last week due to some conflicts. So there's been a number of contrib modules that have come out in that meantime. We've got views field current language, date precision, Talkify, table of contents, counter, which I think is for the counter.dev analytics service. Yes. Custom add another, and much to my surprise, the help module has returned as a contrib module. Uh, the help module was removed very early on in Backdrop's history um, as a acknowledgement of the help module is just not that helpful, and we prefer to refer people to the online documentation rather than doing the built-in help functionality. But honestly, as a contrib module, I could see that being more useful if you wanted to have help that was site specific, like online help. I could see that actually being a way to achieve it. Well, anyway, I think it's curious that it's back, but not opposed to it. So that's what contrib is for. And kind of on the topic of like ancient backdrop history, yeah, Martin wanted to talk about image styles a little bit and the way that they're generated. Martin, you want to give a little intro about your source set problem?
Yeah, so I've got a website which uses source set image, and I've got a page which, it's just got a couple of dozen images on, but I guess with source set image, um, each image potentially has several image styles to cover the different screen resolutions at which you might display it. So maybe source set image puts unusual amounts of demand on the image style generation. But what I'm also curious about is whether I know if you've got a field and you've set in the display that it's using this image style, that must do it. But what I can't find is where core determines um, what are the image styles in use, because it might, for source set, it might never pick up those until they're actually requested. And what I'd like to be able to do is for them to be generated in advance so we don't have a page with some broken images.
Yeah, so actually, that's an interesting suggestion there, like generating them in advance. I've seen contrib modules that do something like that. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about you provided this link to me already, but I'm gonna pull it up to show it that this is dates all the way back to Drupal 7.20 back in 2013. So before Backdrop was even released, there was a change but around the time that Backdrop forked, actually. Backdrop forked in September 2013. And so uh, the complaint kind of is here. I mean, it's funny because now it's been over a decade, and I think people have just kind of uh, they've all accepted the approach that Drupal uh, adopted, but Backdrop still doesn't use this approach. But what it did is Drupal appended a little key at the end of every image that key needed to match uh, between like when the page was generated and when the corresponding image is generated, the query string that's attached to the image URL needs to match. And we didn't do that in Backdrop. And instead, this changelog covers all of the other stuff that we did instead. But summarizing this, like, if I just like, this is my local Backdrop website, and if I look at this image, you can see here that, it's just going directly to the image styles, card, public. And if I wanted to generate another one like the large style, I can just type in the word large here and it's going to generate that large image on the fly. And this on-the-fly image generation is the same between Drupal and Backdrop. It's just that Drupal includes a little thing that's like iToke equals some random string in here. And this little query string parameter is what we never implemented inside of Backdrop for I don't know, compatibility, frustration, simplicity. It's a lot of reasons for it. But it has the downside in that we needed some other method of protecting a site from getting overwhelmed by too many image generation requests simultaneously. And so what Martin's talking about here, where it's like using source set module, maybe a single image on the page might generate 5 images. And then you've got a page with 10 images. Now you're generating 50 images all in one page load. Does that sound like it's an accurate summary, Martin?
Yeah, I'd say for most of I don't know about anyone else, but the maximum I've ever used has been 4, but most of the time it's 3 images, but it can still rack up quite quickly.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I did a site recently that had a source set that had 8, which I thought was excessive, but my front end person was like, "Oh no, this is totally like." I was like, "Okay," uh, and that's a lot. That would be a lot for any server to handle, especially if there's multiple images on the page. Um, So yeah, depending on what your server's capable of, whether you're using the token approach or the flood approach that Backdrop uses, you'd have the same problem of like how many
Mm.
images can your server realistically generate simultaneously or concurrently. So I'm going to take a look here at this image style deliver function. This is the function that actually uh, is the route or menu callback for the files directory. It's the callback for files style card or file styles. And it's what delivers the images kind of on the fly. And so if we look down through here, there's a bunch of things about like, is this a valid request? Get the headers, some more checking. But um, here's the flood checking right here. So it's inside of this function, oddly, is image style flood lock name is where the limit of how many images can be generated at a particular time is pulled from. And so it pulls from system core image style flood limit, and it looks like the default, if it's not set, is 5, but let's look in system core and look in here. So this parameter right here, yeah, I mean 5 is not very generous.
I read that as being the unauthorized limit, because if you go back to where it's in image style deliver, and just above it has allowed URIs equals image style get allowed URIs. So how do so and this then gets it from a temp store, but how do they get into that temp store to say these are allowed URIs?
Oh, that's a good question. I was totally expecting it just to be based off of the flood limit, and not this allowed URIs. Temp star lock require set get. Here it is. So here's a set. Okay, so there's a function shutdown callback used to save the allow list. So save allowed URIs. Register shutdown function here. Image style add URI. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but image module allowed.
I just couldn't work out how to get
There it is.
how core does it.
So it should be right here.
Right.
So image style URL. So this is where, if you pass in the name of a style and then you pass in the path to the file, then it generates the final URL that would be shown inside of the source tag. And if you're, and then this is where it gets added. So if you were manually assembling the image style paths and not using this function, then it wouldn't get added here. But if you do that, then it does look like, in theory, that bypasses the flood limit. Which I forgot about this. I didn't even remember that this existed. Yeah, back in 2015. Issue number 34. So yeah, it looks like image allowed. And so what is it actually doing here? So if you call image style URL, which maybe we should do another C here for clarity. If you call image style URL, this ultimately gets called. And it gets the temp store and adds in. And the temp store is set for 60 seconds. Temp store is only cleared on cron jobs. Yeah, so this should last. And then so when the actual image style delivered is called. So
it might be where the source set is then calling that maybe need to try and call that image style URL to get it added and see if that makes a difference.
Yeah, that looks like that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Um,
I have
yeah.
started porting one of the modules that builds all the image style that generates all the image styles. It's a work in progress at the moment. So.
Let's see, is this the project? Source set image?
Yeah.
So let's see here. Image style load, image style path. Oh, and it actually looks like, yeah, this is interesting. Looks like it's actually trying to generate the image as part
Mm,
of the request instead of, like, it's saying, does the file already exist? No. Then generate the derivative right now. And looks like there's some attempt in here to do something. Is this a port by chance?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm fairly sure someone else ported it and I just I don't think I ported it. I just sort of took over maintainership. It might have been actually no, it might have been created by Peter Anderson.
Oh, I wonder if it's because of this requirement, like where it needs to get the image size here. And so it's like the image
Mm,
needs to actually exist in order for it to do that. But I don't think this is necessary either, because so it does call image style URL here, but it's after they're trying to create the derivatives. This module is trying to create the derivatives. So this would probably not succeed. Uh, and also this isn't a great idea, because that
yeah,
would mean that it's like generating 4 images or maybe 40 images before it even returns the HTML page. And so your page
yeah.
load would be really awful. Um,
Okay, so might need to look at
yeah,
this.
instead there's I can't remember what it's called, but there's a dimensions. Yeah, yeah. So this determines the dimensions of a styled image. And so this is kind of cool because what it does is you can use the original image dimensions and then
Mm,
say, hey, I'm going to make a large image, the large style. And what it does is it calls these dimensions callbacks on each one of um, the image effect styles, and then
mm.
it determines the new width and height um, without actually running the effect. So it doesn't actually resize the image. It just says
Ah, right.
when you go through this image style with the original dimensions, what are going to be the final dimensions when you're done?
Ah, yeah, that does sound like it might make sense. That's that image style transform dimensions.
Yeah, and
That's
this
really good
works
idea.
for almost everything. There's some things that it can't do, like if you use the rotate command, the rotate command like doesn't know, it can't calculate the size properly, I don't think, until after the effect is applied. But it works for almost all other image style effects. So it works for like resize and crop, and it should work with focal point and all of those other ways that you resize images. You generally know the size of the image that you're going to generate in the end. Yeah, that was interesting. That's not at all the way. I don't think without looking at this module, we would have been able to really identify where the problem was. But I think this is the issue.
Yeah, okay, now that's really helpful. Thank you.
Great. All right. Let's go back to the agenda. Okay. Um, Yeah, let's actually talk about the table drag icon since we've got Laren here. Um, Laren, are you able to speak to this issue at all? This was open just last week, and it looks really interesting.
Yeah, saw this as I was working on Gin, and I thought this particular piece of it could be something that goes into core, and it's basically I think it could be I didn't actually verify this with anybody, but I think it could be considered an accessibility issue for confusion where you have like a four-way directional movement, but you can only move it two-way.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think modern Drupal does this where it switches the icon there and the cursor to just a up and down instead of a four-way. Um, and so yeah, I have it working, I think, fairly well in that regard. I just if you're allowed to nest or move it in multiple directions, it keeps what we have currently, and if you can only go up and down, it moves it to that other icon. And it also switches them to SVG instead of the ping. So there's kind of two things going on. Um,
Yeah, I love it. Yep. A lot of people thinking the same thing. Uh, yeah, that's really great. What does this four-way arrow look like? It's a little bit. I mean, I guess if I zoom in, I can tell what it is, but it
hmm.
doesn't seem like it's quite as like on a smaller
Yeah, this is the
screen. It's not quite as
phosphor.
clear as the
This
old
is
four-way.
um, I think this is the phosphor icons filled version. I'm not sure if the unfilled one is any more precise in terms of small views.
Yeah, it still looks conceptually, it's really great. Um, let's see what did you do in the implementation here? Did you reuse the existing icons or did you add new ones? It looks
I
like you,
use the ones that come in core with phosphor.
yeah, that seems like it's what we should do. Oh, I see. You just actually pointed directly um at the icon.
Yeah, I thought about
Uh,
doing the other thing where you can use the CSS custom property or whatever, but
uh-huh. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I wonder. It seems like we should do it, like because it's referencing an icon, like we should use the actual icon system.
then
And
someone
so
could override it more easily.
yeah, so where because table drag's already a library, I'm assuming. Um, let's see. So
It's actually
where
not. I was going to do that as part of this, and then it's not a library, but it seems like it
Oh,
should
you're
be.
kidding. Oh no. Uh,
Um, I think when I got to that point and I realized it wasn't a library yet, I was like, this is turning into a bigger issue.
yeah. That's unbelievable. So, oh, that's because so okay, it's probably backdrop add table drag. Yeah. So, and sure enough, it's adding cookie, but then it's just adding the JavaScript file. Ugh.
I mean, we
Yeah,
could turn it into a library, but
yeah. It should be a library. Yeah, because then if it were a library, then you could say I need to use these icons. Because there's also what's happening in here. So where's this CSS lib that's in uh oh,
I
okay.
think
So
it's in
this
a
is
couple
this
of
is
places.
layout. This is not table drag. And then this is table drag is in system CSS.
Yeah, I did the layout one as well because it used that same ping file, and
Uh-huh.
I thought it made sense if we were replacing it to replace it everywhere that was used.
Yeah, it totally does. It totally does. Huh. Yeah. Interesting question. Like what happens when we don't like an icon? that's in our icon set.
I guess we could override it, but
Yeah, we could. Like we could, yeah, because then in theory, what would happen is that, um, your theme, like the seven theme, for example, could, in its icons directory, create a new SVG of this to make it so the table drag inside of seven looked different by using an overridden icon. And that would be a good reason to use icon API, to make it so that instead of overriding CSS, themes could just put in their icons directory a different icon that would get picked up instead of um, the one that comes with
it might
phosphor.
be it might be worth checking if the non-fill version is more palatable.
Let's see.
It's called Cardinal, I think.
So what were we looking at? We're looking at this is
We
the
had
fill
the
one, isn't it?
This is the regular one. The fill one makes those arrows into, you know,
Oh, yeah, it just becomes a little chunkier, doesn't it? And it makes it so it's like a little bit harder to,
at
let's
small
see.
sizes, it becomes more of a,
Yeah. Do you know how big the icon is rendering right now?
don't recall.
Let's see. It is 13 pixels. That's pretty tiny.
I think it's 1 M, so maybe 16 in
Okay,
this
so it'd
rendering.
probably be 16 then. Okay, so 16. Yeah. So that's the, oof, boy, that's so tiny. And then what's regular? Hmm.
Slightly different.
Slightly different. Um, yeah, kind of maybe one of our problems is that icon is just really small by today's standards.
That's true.
Um, but yeah, I'm loving the concept here. This is definitely going to be a minor release issue. I know it's technically a UX thing, but it could have some far-reaching impacts on administrative themes in particular. But I like that, Jin is probably the only administrative theme that has a serious impact. And maybe that's too presumptuous of a statement, but it's the most important contrib theme, I think.
It's
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit maybe too far out there for core, but I'll just mention it here. Part of what I'm experimenting with on Gin is to turn the entire row on table drag, the entire row to be draggable, not just that tiny little handle.
Oh,
And it's actually not that hard to do. Um,
that's pretty fun. I think that could have all kinds of consequences, but I don't know. Let's do one thing at a time, or at least in separate issues. I really like where this is like conceptually. I really like the direction that this is taking. Uh, I do, yeah, I know it is kind of seems like it's expanding the scope quite a lot, but I do think that table drag should be made into a library.
One
Uh,
one question that came to me after I filed this was, I mean, the icon changes to that like up and down um, thing, and then I've also changed the cursor. But after I thought about it, the cursor is now called row resize, and so I'm wondering if that's actually an abuse of that cursor. And if there's also another one that's just called drag, which is a hand, and then you can change it to dragging when you're actually in the action of dragging. And I'm curious if it might be worthwhile to use the drag and dragging instead of row resize.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Because then it would work for the 4-way or the 2-way. And the cursor wouldn't have to change even if we keep the icon on the side, the
Yeah.
4-way and the 2-way.
Did you look at these like north-south resize and
No, I
S
did not.
resize? I think that yeah, here we go. Like so that makes a
Oh, so I'm using row resize instead of north-south resize. Oh, but it's not resizing, it's moving, right?
yeah, it's yeah.
Or it's grabbing. Sorry, that's what I was.
Grab. So that's the hand. Oh, grabbing, interesting. It's like when you click down, it's like
Yeah, so
open closes
so
the
you can
hand.
have it open, and then when you actually click down, you can make it like grip like that.
Yeah, this move seems, I mean, move looks like it's
That's the
like
one we're
this is a
using.
four-way arrow. This seems like this is both semantically and visually what you would expect rather than the
Even on
hand, I
the
think.
even on the 2-way, you would keep the 4-way arrows.
No, on the two-way, I think I would probably go for the two-way. I know it's semantically not the same, but yeah, the north-south resize, I think,
Compare that one to the
table or
row resize,
row.
which is I think what I have in the PR right now. Are they the same?
Yeah, it looks the same to me.
Okay. All right. I mean, don't have strong feelings on it.
So what about the backwards compatibility? It's going to be we have some difficulty.
For
Yeah,
the other themes,
Yeah, I think Indigo Shayla had mentioned basis.
I modified basis. That one should be okay. Haven't gone through other contribs, but
yeah, what's the yeah, so we're switching from background, which is what people probably were overriding before, to a mask because it's an SVG.
yeah, the issue with basis was mainly just having to make it big, like make the size. Um, I guess you can see it there in the basis table drag, what needed to happen for basis, but
Hmm.
Not having looked, I'm assuming that most themes have not changed that at all. They're just relying on what it inherits.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty most themes don't have table drag, period, because the table drag is a largely administrative capability. Like I'm not sure I've ever built a website that used table drag in the front end theme. Like
Well,
table
it comes
drag.
up with paragraphs, for example. That was one. Like if you're using the front end theme for editing content, then if you're using paragraphs, you'll see
Hmm.
the drag.
I guess I've never used the front end theme for editing content either. But yeah, that would make that way more likely. Yeah. Oh, it's a tough one. Uh, yeah. I think in our, I'd have to look it up, but I think our strict definitions of backwards compatibility does not include CSS. Um, but obviously we want to minimize the potential impacts regardless of what the policy is. I still see like I see a lot of value in this. Getting rid of some more of our pings, switching them to SVGs. Um, I kind of if we're going to be making a change that uh is going to impact the CSS, which it looks like right now this is, um, it'd be a good opportunity to do other things like make the icon bigger, I think. Um, if that is appropriate, which I think it would be. And then maybe then this icon would be fine. Anyway, great. Thanks for opening this, Laren. Any last thoughts on this one?
So the conclusion was as part of that issue to try to turn Table Drag into a library.
Yeah, well, if I had my druthers about it, yes, it would be turned into a library, and then the icon API would be used instead of hard coding that path. You'd use the variable for the icon there, and then that would make it so that themes could override the icon used in table drag by just providing their own icon and not doing any CSS at all.
Yeah, got it.
And but I think the underlying thing is just like if we're pulling something out of the icons directory, I feel like we should be using icon API to get there. Okay. Let's see. Next up, I wanted to talk about this one just a little bit because it's an interesting uh, item that was brought up 2 weeks ago. Benny Bob W. Or Ben from Giant Rabbit uh, posted a suggestion here after the dev meeting. And then I looked into it a little bit more after the dev meeting. And so let's look at the original problem here. The original problem that he's stating is that sometimes when saving config files, you end up with these meaningless reordering of keys that doesn't have any purpose. So you could do something like edit a content type or edit a field, and then even if you didn't change anything, you just went to the form and hit save, and then you exported your config, you might end up with a change in your config where what ended up happening was just the order of the keys changed, and not for any real reason. Um, and so he's made a suggestion that I hadn't thought of before, which is um, just here we go. A simpler idea, which is just to use the order that's already in the current config, which I think is a really smart concept because we already have the current config already loaded at the time that you're doing the save. And so there's no additional work to get the original config because we already have it. And just when you save it, we save it in the same order as it was loaded. And so it basically would uh, largely eliminate key reordering that was just based on the order of the array when you call config save. So I looked into it a little bit, and uh, first of all, I noted that if you're using config set, it already is maintaining the key order because it puts them into the same, it acts like an array, and the array just maintains the order. When you update a value by its key and the key is in the middle of the array, it already maintains the same order. So that's already saving without any changes. Where we get into uh, where key orders actually end up getting changed, it's because of the like update a lot of keys all at the same time in the config. file, and that's with the set data function or method. And so I think my suggestion ultimately is like if we want to have this ability to maintain the key order, then there should be an additional parameter on set data that maintains the key order. I don't think I actually demonstrated what that would look like, but I think it would probably be like config arrow set data, and then the data you want to pass in, and then the Boolean true or false. I imagine that true would mean maintain the key order that was there previously, and false would mean don't maintain the key order. Just use the key order that I passed in.
You just make it default to true. I think I can't see a reason why you usually would not want to maintain it.
Yeah, I think default to true. I think that basically means don't reorder stuff. Would be the default. But if you had some explicit reason for reordering it, like you wanted to I don't know, write an update hook that organized all of the keys alphabetically for some reason in your module, then you could alphabetize your config and then say set data and set it to false, and then it would reorder it because that's explicitly what you're trying to do is reorder the keys.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I think that's yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting. It's a small nag. I actually am trying to figure out how this exact situation happened with field bundles, and I couldn't actually, in this particular example, I couldn't figure out how it would have actually occurred, other than if he manually modified his config file on disk. That's the only way I think that this would have happened. But still, even if you manually modify it, maybe, backdrop shouldn't be so uh, strict as to be changing your key orders on you. All right. Let's see. We've only got 5 minutes left. I saw that Irina joined here for a minute. Oh, looks like she dropped back out again. Okay. I guess we'll bring up this one issue, Laren, just kind of give you the opportunity to solicit that this has been ready for a while now and it just needs review, your layout template types.
Yeah, I was hoping to. I'm going to be the advocate for this issue, so I was hoping to just raise it quickly and say anybody who's able to or willing to test it or do code review or anything like that. I may have some time next week if people are able to do so. I may have some time next week to address any concerns. So would be great for me if anybody else has time and interest.
Yeah. And we haven't merged in a single thing into the 134 branch yet. And so, or the 1.x branch for 134. And so, this would be a great place to start. All right. Yeah, does anybody have any last things to add before we close for today? Okay. Well, let's end the meeting then. We've got a heads up that there's a user group meeting today that is going to be covering search. And so stick around or come back if you're interested in hearing more about that in about 5 minutes. So thank you all for being here today, and we'll catch you all next week.